Why humanity should not be enslaved. Galactic Senate Case 1782974, D6-2027. Inquiry for enslavement of low-tech alien race. Tinu Dew sat in the pod, halfway listing. There were 5 more inquiries before it was his turn. He was going through his arguments and reminding himself of all the information. They kept trying to sell the points. This new species would greatly benefit the Gransu economy, and they had not been able to leave their solar system yet. The Gransu representative was quite eager in his presentation. Maybe too enthusiastic. Tinu was about to ignore the whole thing when they described the species. The race they wanted to enslave was a highly trainable bipedal race with a physical rating of 6 and an intelligence rating of 7. Pretty high, but not too high. Omnivores that were starting to leave the homeworld to explore their solar system. However, not united under one banner. The high level of death and hell percent made them quite a hardened species, and they could survive in several different environments with little to no cybertech. They had taken a few to test, being dropped on other death and hell worlds. They had survival rates of about 70% if given essential survival equipment, which put them among the most adaptable non-insectoid species. They were projecting to be able to ship 2 billion off the world as slaves within 1 standard year. The planet's animal life can also be used for food production, as the locals already have farming. Several of their meat production methods have been approved for 45 species, including the sale of the meat from the actual species. Tinu looked at the Gransu representative and then at his guest. That sounds very familiar. Professor Juza Gruffer sighed as he looked at the pod. Unfortunately, it is. I just double-checked their info folder. It's Earth they are talking about. And from what they are promising, stopping them will be nearly impossible. They have too many in their pockets. However, they seem to have nothing on their culture or history beyond space technology and biology. They have very little on the weapons as well. Tinu stood up angrily and shouted, "No, that is bullshit." Nobody would generally notice such an outburst in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Senate. The place was too big, except at that very moment. The Gransu had opened the floor question, and the pod next to them, the Sankira Slavers Guild, had requested to speak. The red one-eyed alien with long red hair and dressed in a golden robe looked at him, surprised. "Do you know something that what he said is wrong, little one?" Jusa looked at Tinu and gave him a slight smirk. "Don't mess this up." Tinu looked between them, then nodded, and activated his speaker. "Yes. Invading that planet will cause a revolt among your constituents and customers. Interfering with that planet and its inhabitants might be one of the stupidest things the Senate can do. The impact will be extremely negative, and the blame will be laid on your feet." The president, a small green man with large pointed ears, leaned over his small desk and called the pod up to the center of the vast room next to the Gransu representative. He looked at the gray-skinned Gransu, then back to the president. "Yes, Your Honor, it will lead to a voter revolt. These bipods, or humans as they call themselves, call their planet Earth, and have contributed to the galaxy's peace and unification for over 100 cycles through many different means." "That's ridiculous," the Gransu representative scoffed. "They don't have the capability to send even simple transmissions into deep space. Nobody has received any transmissions from them. We know, as we almost missed them when looking for them." "That might be true, but I have been studying them for the last 500 years through the Galactic Early Civilization Fund that Professor Gruffer founded. I came here today to formally ask to put the planet and solar system under my company's protective quarantine, as we noticed a motion to remove protection of DEC sentient beings." The president nodded to Professor Gruffer. "Is this true, Professor?" The professor stood up and spread his large white wings. His almost golden hair gleamed like a halo around his head. "Yes, Your Honor. Earth and humankind are why we are here. My dear friend, Tinu Dew, owns Gaia Limited, the galaxy's biggest entertainment and think tank. I think you all should listen to him." The Gransu looked at Tinu respectfully as he realized who he was, as hushed murmurs could be heard like waves among the crowd. The president then indicated that Tinu should continue. "If you insist, my friend, please continue to tell us why we should place them under protective quarantine." As these two matters seemed to contradict each other directly, Tinu took a deep breath. It was not the path he wanted to take, But he nodded to the professor and then looked at the Senate. How to explain this? Well, I could send you several terabits of research we have about their culture, or I can show it much simpler. Then he slammed his hand twice on the rail of the pod, followed by a clap. He repeated the procedure 2 times. When he slammed his hand for the third, many of the younger senators had joined in, and he could see some were mouthing the words. He smirked and stopped. They made it. There was confusion among the senators. Was that an Earth song? What about this one? I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Who among you haven't seen that, crime lord? That movie is a remake of one of theirs called The Godfather. What about A Long Time Ago, in a galaxy far, far away? Also, theirs, hell, we didn't even bother to remake that one. Luke, Han, and Leia are humans. That's what they look like. The room was quiet for a few seconds before erupted into a chaotic mess of shouts and questions. The president called for silence, so Tinu continued. Those are just some of the things we have bought from them. The Galactic Games is a copy of their Olympic Games, and for the last 50 cycles, we have had peace following their sports program, with no wars during the games. It stopped the Gorg-Wallad War. Hell, they ended up finishing the war with a game of soccer. By the way, it is a human word and sport. What about literature? The Dark Lord's Ring is originally called Lord of the Rings, or the works of Shakespeare, the actual name of Shakespeare in human. His work was among those we gathered personally. We actually had to go down to their planet, as it was written pre-wireless media technology. Our agents risked their lives for that one. He looked at the representatives of the Wasu and smirked at the humanoid-looking warrior race with ridged skulls. A human might misunderstand them from a TV show. It was also the race who loved the works of Shakespeare the most, not to mention our horror movies. Hell, our bike movie scared the Busher out of the water. There was some laughter as the Busher representative had to agree. And he was an aquatic species. Still, he hoped he would never meet such a crazy monster as the shark. Again, originally called Jaws. But why stop there? They have made you all laugh. The Green Sheriff. That's Blazing Saddles, or Help the Pilot Died. Called Airplane when they made it, and they invented stand-up comedy. And please insult me. He looked to the professor, who kept sending out the movies in their original form to the representative and the remake they had made to make them more galactic-friendly. Now let's talk music. Who wants to tell your daughters they can forget new synth-pop songs? That's K-pop for them. Battle word, which they call rap, is also theirs. Do you really want to tell that you enslaved the people who the youths that you enslaved and took away such artists as Ice Cube, Ice-T, Snoop Dogg or Eminem? Your youth would kill you for that. Hell, why stop there? The symphony is also their invention. We have recordings of music that humans would kill for. Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, and Chopin are all human composers. We were down on Earth recording them originally because we understood how fantastic it was. Something nobody in the whole galaxy has managed to do better than them. Your grandparents won't speak to you, and probably disown you for enslaving the species that gave them that music. Humans are outdoing us in every form of culture and social invention. Speed dating. Them. Oh, let's not forget comic books, even the naughty ones. Yes, we know you all read them, but they also invented the superheroes, who could develop a modern version of our old mythologies and make new stories, and they mix it all up in a way that works. Who among you wants to go home and tell your constituents and family that there won't be more high-quality entertainment from the Gaia Company, because we will lose all of this if you invade them? The Grand Zoo representative spoke up. Well, that won't stop just because we take over. We can even control their art better. After all, you had a few misses these last few years. Not everything you have produced has been great. Oh, that's the problem. Some new employers thought like that. So we gave them a budget and some trained agents. They sent down several of our agents to influence them, and those misses and flops you mentioned are from them. That's what's happening when we try to control them. They will be too eager to please, and because of that, you can forget Mozart, Bach, and Elvis. You will end up with our crap. Let them evolve. And we get an ending to One Piece that is actually good. We don't have their creativity or abilities. Besides, what do you think will happen when they meet the Shasha? The crowd turned to look at the 2 Shasha envoys, and then it hit them, and a burst of laughter could be heard throughout the crowd. At least they don't have acid blood, but the humans will freak out. He smirked as the Shasha envoys took the joke with humor and even waved their tails a little. But back to your point, When we tried to influence them, we got horrible results. We started to influence the movie industry, specifically one large company. Our new employee wanted to make a new Star Wars movie. Damn, do we regret that one? We actually need help to remove the agent that we placed there. She refuses to return, blinded by her power among them. He took a deep breath. Simply put, if we leave them alone, then we can milk their media and entertainment for a few more years, and when they are advanced enough, we can integrate them into the galactic community. So it's a choice between a few eager-to-please slaves and being cursed by your customers and constituents for causing a dramatic drop in the entertainment media, or leaving them be and keeping them happy, still voting and buying your stuff. Oh, we are currently working on their giant monster movies. I have a feeling it will be a smash hit. He sat down and closed his fist slowly, hoping they would agree with him. The Grand Zoo representative stood silently and looked at him before speaking up. We are receding our request and support the request to put them under protective quarantine, but we humbly request to be allowed to keep the specimens we have already secured. I would not be able to look my daughter in her eye if I enslaved the race that gave her Synpop.